A-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-boo-boo. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Hey, that's so nice to see you. Happy to be back. So, I want to talk to you about time today. I've been thinking a lot about this and how it affects me, how it affects my clients, and I have come up with a series of beliefs that my clients have presented me with. And it's funny, all of my clients have thought a series of thoughts along these lines. And so I thought, I just need to share these because it's affecting everybody. So let's talk about it. So the thought, I don't have time for this, or I don't have enough time, or I'm out of time, or I'm behind, or I'm too busy, I'm so busy, I'm scrambling. All of these thoughts create results in our life. So time is one of these resources that just is. There is always going to be the amount of time that is, ever. And it's out of our control. And of course, it's, how we've decided to think about time and break it up into hours and minutes and stuff. But time just is. And then we are at the effect of what is, time-wise. But then we have thoughts about how we spend our time and what we want to be spending our time on that are creating our results. And if we're caught in the loop of I don't have enough time or I don't have time for this, then what that tells me is my client is not managing their mind around their time. It doesn't actually mean they don't have time for this. Even if it's something they want to do or they don't want to do, it's all neutral. And when I work with clients on time, what I always start with is an understanding of the model. This is a coaching tool that I use so often. It's the main coaching tool that I do utilize with clients because it shows so beautifully how our circumstances are neutral and how our thoughts about our circumstances are optional. And our thoughts, which create our feelings, are also optional. And then our feelings drive our actions, which are optional. And our actions give us the results that we create, which are also optional. So literally our circumstances are neutral. And I've talked about the model and how to utilize this in your own self-coaching. That if you want to go back to the very first video that I ever did was on the model and how our thoughts create our results. So when I'm talking with a client about their time, I want them to see very clearly their thoughts about time create their result, not the amount of time itself. So when we're taking responsibility for our results, responsibility is not blame, and I've talked at great length about this. Responsibility means that we are accepting what we're creating without judgment, just with curiosity, so that we can grow and learn from it. It's a tool to use for growth, for learning, for awareness, for understanding, not for shame and judgment and guilt. That's just not productive. So what would benefit us, what would behoove us, if you will, is to get a really firm grasp on our time priorities, the things that we want to be spending our time on. If we want to be spending the most or the majority of our time in a certain area, but then we find ourselves on Facebook or YouTube or reading or on Netflix, then we are like, right? So I'm going to share some models that have come up in my own coaching, self-coaching, and in coaching my clients. And I want to show you exactly what's happening here. So the circumstance with this client was water. She wanted to hydrate. She had a goal of drinking more water. Innocent enough. It sounds easy enough. That's just the facts. She wants to drink more water. Then when she's at work and she's busy, just hustling, working, there's a jar of water, or she had a water bottle on her desk, but she literally had the thought, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to drink water. And that feeling that was created within her from the thought, I don't have time for this, was to feel aggravated. When she was aggravated, she was short with her coworkers. She became sarcastic. She would blame herself. She was also not taking care of herself, not being friendly, not having patience. The result was she didn't make time to drink water. She was not taking care of herself. She was not staying hydrated. She was creating strife with her coworkers. So the result was her thought was, I don't have time for this. And her result was she didn't make time for it. And she created all of these negative emotions along the way, being, strife and being sarcastic, not being friendly, all because she created the feeling of aggravated by the thought, I don't have time for this. Sounds innocent enough. Next model, the client had the goal of working out at the gym. And so she wanted to be at the gym 3 days a week. Sounds like a great goal. Self-care, taking care of herself first. Okay. Well, then she would get home from work. She would see all of the things around the house that needed to be done. And she would think, I don't have time to work out. And so she would feel annoyed. And then from the feeling of annoyed, her actions were not going to the gym, doing stuff for other people. She would stay home and cook, take care of the animals, clean up the house. She would be frustrated and resent people around her, not take care of herself. So her result was she did not make time for herself. Her thought, I don't have time to go to the gym, created the result, she didn't make time to go to the gym. And I like in the result line to be very clear that the result is in our control. So I want to state it in a way that the client realizes I've got control over this. I have chosen not to do this thing because of my thought. But see, we think it's the circumstance, all of the list of things that have to be done around us that are creating the feeling. We think the circumstance creates our feeling, but it never is. It's our thought about the circumstance. So this next client, let me adjust the brightness here. My goodness. This next client, she was the circumstance, driving down the road with her family, and she had heard a song that triggered a thought about someone that she loved and had lost. But she didn't want to deal with the emotion right then and there. And she thought, I don't have time for this. And so her thought, I don't have time for this. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Y'all, I've been coughing for several days, so my throat is a little bit wonky. So circumstance, driving down the road, here's a thought that triggers a memory. And that memory made her emotional. But then she switched models. She thought, I don't have time for this. Her new thought created the feeling of anxious, which drove her action to change the song, to hide her face so that other people couldn't see that she was getting emotional. She avoided feeling her feelings. She repressed them, which they did come up later because that's what repressed emotions always do. She snapped at her children. She felt tense all day. She didn't want to be in public. And the result was she didn't make time for dealing with the emotions. She had a rough experience all day, all because she thought the thought, I don't have time for this right now. Okay? I know I'm spending a lot of time on these models, but I want to be very clear. Our circumstances are neutral, but then we create our experience for ourselves by the way that we think. In my own life, here, I always blow up Jeremy. God bless him. He's so sweet. In my own life, when I've seen how I think thoughts about my time, I will be multitasking, doing loads of laundry, washing the dishes, waiting for the kids to finish their food. So I'm like cleaning after I've fed them. And so like doing all these things. He walks in the door from work and is excitedly telling me about some tricky for me, it's some technical nuance of something that he is just excited about. And it's so over my head that it would take me time to stop, to actually listen to what he's saying, to focus. And I don't have time for that because I tell myself I don't have time for that. And so he comes in the door telling me about this techie thing. And all I'm thinking about is all of the work around me that I want help with, not for him to stand there and tell me about this technology stuff. And so I'm thinking, I don't have time for this. Circumstance, I'm washing dishes, husband tries to talk to me. Thought, I don't have time for this right now. The feeling that that thought creates for me in that moment was irritated. And my actions from feeling irritated were, I halfway listen to him, I cut him off, I act uninterested so he will go away, I speak unkindly, I judge myself for being short with him, I feel guilty, I try to stop multitasking so that I can finally hear him because I'm feeling guilty. So that's a different action actually from a different model, but I just feel irritated. The result is I don't make time to connect. I don't have time for this right now. I don't have time to connect with you right now. All of the work, it makes my result. I don't make time to connect. And I'm laughing because it's so funny to me that I thought all of that, all of my feelings were a result of the circumstances. Hey, there's work to be done. Stop talking about your techie stuff. Like, it's nice. We'll get to it later. And then I won't want to care about it later either because it's so technical and over my head that I'm like, I don't want to stop, right? But when I get into that thought process, I literally create a scenario where I don't have time for my husband. And that creates a different result for me that I just don't like, honestly. So I want to notice the common theme through all of these. We create a lack of time by our thinking, not by there actually being a lack of time. We also create negative experiences for ourselves, for our families when we're thinking, I don't have enough time. And it might feel so true for you that you don't have enough time to do everything you want. But what happens when you get on that thought process? Let's imagine there's a goal that you want to achieve, but then you're thinking, I don't have enough time. Then you might create the feeling of overwhelm or anxiety or defeat, just something along those lines. And then instead of actually pursuing the goal during the free time you do have, you'll maybe jump on Netflix like me, or you might pick up a book like me, or you might, I don't know, do something to distract yourself. Maybe grab some cookies like me. Today's Tell on Myself Day. And so I'm trying to be wise to myself and just gain awareness of what I've been doing and then help my clients see what they've been doing based on how they're thinking, because we don't even see it. We're creating our experience by our thoughts. So time is limited, but we're not helpless. When we're thinking, I don't have enough time, we're literally our own victim and villain. We're the victim of our time. We're like, it's out of my control. I just don't have enough time and my life is hectic because of that and I'm helpless. So we're the victim. But we're also the villain because we're the one creating that whole result. If we, instead of thinking, I don't have enough time, like, I've got all the time I need, or I have exactly the amount of time that is necessary, or just there are so many thoughts that, depending on the circumstance, that could be utilized, and depending on what belief system we're operating with at the time. But I have noticed when I sit down to work on my business or organizing my family schedule or anything, whenever I sit down to try to work, focused work, if I'm thinking I've got so much to do and so little time, I spin. I jump on YouTube and I'll watch a video or two. I'll scroll through Facebook or Instagram. And then all of a sudden I look and I'm like, I've been doing nothing for 30 minutes when I could have been working. But my thought was, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't have enough time, and it would create different results for me because of how I was thinking. That's why I was saying it depends on where our belief system is at the moment for what thoughts would benefit us moving forward. So be on to yourself this week. If time is something that you are struggling with, if this is something like, I don't have enough time. All these people expect all of these other things from me, and I just don't know what to do. Then be aware. The way you're thinking is creating your result. And it's great that other people have expectations. That's fabulous. But that's about them. What are the expectations you have for yourself? What are the priorities you have in your life? And are you honoring those priorities? What are the things that would benefit you and your family and the people that you are influencing? Are those the things that you're spending your time on? Or is it buffering to get away from the pressure of the chores and the tasks because you're thinking, I don't have enough time? Just be on to yourself. And if this is something that you are desperate and wanting coaching on, I would love to talk with you about it, because this is something that I have worked on in my own life and I'm continuing to find new things in. It's something that I coach my clients on, and they get to see, oh, wow, I actually do have enough time. It just didn't feel that way. So be on to yourself. You've got much more control over your life than you realize. Much more. And if you feel like you're living at the effect of your life and the effect of other people's expectations, then I want to challenge you to start looking at all of those beliefs. And if you're needing help and coaching on that, then please do reach out and we'll schedule a consult and we'll talk about how we can work together. But be thinking about this week. Where do I say, I don't have time for this, or I don't have enough time, or I'm so busy? Okay? Start thinking about that and let me know how you handle things whenever you do get on that thought loop. How do you handle things? What are the results you're giving yourself? What happens for you? So anyway, love you much. I hope you have a beautiful weekend, and I will see you again soon. All right, bye.